glad to know you're still here with us on Kakake, African Voice. It's time for newspaper review. As I told you earlier, we will be looking at the national stories, the very front page stories for today with our reviewers who are already seated here, two honorable gentlemen of the press.
Yes, indeed. We have Simon Reef Musa joining us this morning, and of course, Dr. Iyobosa Wogaren joining us as well. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure meeting you.
All right, so let's see how the papers are leading this morning. I think the leadership is the first paper we will be looking at.
Yes,
now.
indeed. The leadership newspaper is the very first paper we're looking at this morning, and the headline there says, Nigeria records third jailbreak in 2025 as 16 inmates flee Kefi prison. NCOS, that's the Correctional Service, says 7 escapees recaptured, manhunt under 4-9.
And the next paper we're looking at is the Daily Times, right? Okay, the Daily Times is also leading with the jailbreak story. It says jailbreak, 16 inmates flee Kefi prison, 5 officers injured, and that's on page 2 of the paper.
Moving on to the Nigerian pilot now, talking about the correctional services, yet but going in a different, from a different perspective. Nigerian Correctional Services cries out, NCOS cries out. That's the headline, and the writers says 8,246 inmates in correctional facilities nationwide are mentally ill. Decries shortage of medical personnel, logistical challenges. Expresses concern that scale of mental health issues far exceeds available resources. And of course, you have just under the masthead 16 inmates escaping Kefi jailbreak.
All right, the Daily Asset is also towing that line in its lead. It says over 8,000 mentally ill inmates in custody nationwide, says the Nigeria Correctional Service. With a rider, Kwara NMA decries growing mental health issues among doctors. Okay, that's all the issues you have on this Daily Asset. Page 2 is where you find the details.
All right, ahead 2027 polls, ADC raises alarm over attempts to intimidate, weaken opposition voices. That is the top headline, the top story on the front page of the People's Daily. The writer says, we are non-partisan in our operations. EFCC rejects ADC's allegations. The details are on page 16 of that paper.
Okay, the Whistler is the next paper, and above its nameplate you have Ibom Air violated Comfort Emerson's dignity, says NBA on page 13. And then you have ADC Atiku alleged witch hunt as EFCC goes after Mark Ihedioha Tambuwal as his leading headline as well.
Okay, still on that story, the Daily Monitor leads with that headline 2, anti-graft war. EFCC grants Tambuwal bail as ADC Atiku Obi fault detention. Anti-graft agencies action an agenda to harass, decimate opposition. Atiku apply anti-corruption laws equally to all Nigerians. Obi advises EFCC.
And the Blueprint seems to be replying the other papers who led with that story. It says no sacred cow in our investigations of politicians. EFCC tells ADC it's demoralizing, says Atiku. And then you have politicians engage in anticipatory looting, declare non-existent assets. This is coming from Olukoide. And then the next story on the paper says NAF killed 592 terrorists and destroyed 372 assets in 8 months. That's according to the Chief of Air Staff.
Okay, so we are going to the Observer's Times now. The one you just took was the Blueprint. And what we have on the front page of the Observer's Times is saying ADC, EFCC's sudden probe of Mark Ihedioha, Tambuwal politically motivated. You'll find that story on the inside pages, but the writer says no sacred cows. Corruption has no party lines. EFCC tells ADC.
And the Authority newspaper, ADC to APC, intimidation won't work, says ruling party jittery.
Okay, let's go now to the Nigerian News Direct. Public officials are pre-declaring assets to mask corruption. EFCC. Investigation uncovers phantom multi-billion naira properties on CCB. That's the CCB form. That story is on page 17 of the paper.
And on page 9 of the Nigerian Express, page 3 rather, of the Nigerian Express, you have 10 years after court gives the federal government deadline to close case against Dasuki.
Going on to the New National Star. Ibom Air versus Comfort. Prosecute Oshomole Kwam One Now. Nigerians task FG. You'll find that story on page 2, but the writers say accuse government of double standards. NBA others call for probe of Ibom Air action. That's the top story on the front page of the New National Star.
And then which is the next paper? The Daily Trust. Rivers company builds mall on Abuja site. Rivers Koi builds mall on Abuja site. The story starts from page 1 and runs through pages 3, 4, and 5.
Okay, let's go now to the Daily Independent. It goes completely in a different direction, looking at the economy. Nigeria's agricultural exports hit record high fueled by weak naira. The writers say experts urge export competitiveness, domestic productivity enhancement, value addition to reduce over-reliance on raw commodity exports. That's the top story on the front page of the Daily Independent.
And the next one is the Standard Times. Do you have that?
Yes, the Standard Times right here.
Okay, so I've seen that. NIRA 2025, that's the leading headline. NICOM constitutes Insurance Industries Recapitalization Committee.
Okay, we already did Daily Trust. Let's go to the Business NG. Ibom Air Passenger Row. NBA steps in to challenge lifetime ban. Passengers ban can be lifted, says NCAA. That's the top story on the front page of the paper, the Business NG. So that's the last paper we have for you this morning to review. Let's now bring the issues before our reviewers.
We have the first one we'll be looking at as led by the Leadership newspaper and the Daily Times. Nigeria records a third jailbreak in 2024. That's I think in 4 years. As 16 inmates flee curfew prison, 5 officers injured. That's how the paper is leading. This story broke yesterday. And we also understand that some have been recaptured, about 7 of them.
Yes,
while others
seven
are still
back in custody.
at large.
All right, so let's start from Dr.
Why are you all looking straight? Okay, doctor, you start.
Okay. Well, it's funny that every time we hear about jailbreak in Nigeria, and it's becoming very, very regular. I'm sure this year, I think we've recorded almost how many times?
I think this is the 4th now.
The 4th one this year.
2020.
Well, I think it has to do with the state of our prison or correctional center, if you call it. Some of these correctional center or prisons were built during the colonial era, and up till now, nothing has been done, to change the building. So they still remain there, and so it is very easy for the inmate to want to escape, and the fact that we don't also have enough security guarding our prisons is also part of it. Of course, you know that the prison officers are the one guiding the prison, except where you have maybe terrorists that are being kept. You see soldiers and other police force guarding that place. And the prison officers with arms are not well equipped. So when they are faced with such challenge, there's little or nothing they can do. There's another newspaper, I think in the National Pilot, that talk about the health challenges, among the inmates.
Yes, mental health.
Mental health.
Yes.
Is it over 8,000?
But I want to believe that the original concept why the name was changed from Nigeria Prison Authority to Correctional Center was for us to see prisons as a rehabilitating center, and that is not necessary to punish the inmate, but to keep them there, rehabilitate them, let them see what they have done and the need for them to, to change their
Come out a
lifestyle.
better person.
And there are in some prisons, you also, during your period of staying there, you can acquire other skills, carpentry work, and other things. So I think that was the concept. But it appears that the federal government or the prisons authority do not have the capacity to do that. If you hear almost on a daily basis how much they are using to feed an inmate, you'll be shocked. Somebody was saying the other day that you can't even feed your dog with that kind of amount. So
dogs are very expensive to maintain.
To feed now, yes. I have about 2 in my house. I know how much I spend almost every day to feed them.
I'm sure you don't even spend that much money on yourself.
Exactly. So it is very, very, very sad that we keep on, getting these things almost on a daily basis. I think the federal government should do something about it and see how they can turn those areas to a real correctional center, not just by name, by true deliberate effort. There are some prisons that are being rebuilt now, to be able to cope with the current challenges. But there are still some prisons across the country. I don't want to call it correctional center. It's not correctional center. I still have some prisons across the country that were built during the colonial era, and up to now, that building still remains. Go to Kogi, go to the one you have in Suleja there, go to the one you have in Kevi. The same thing. This building were erected during the colonial era. Nothing has been done by the federal government, to change the buildings, and that's why we're having these challenges.
So after the name change, at least the infrastructure should have also been improved.
Exactly.
In some of them. Some are maximum correctional service, some are medium, and all of that. But the point he raised about even some of the officers being harmed in the course of trying to prevent this from happening. So from this jailbreak yesterday, we understand that even 5 of the prison officers have been injured and are receiving treatment already in, our facility, government health facility. So this is also endangering the lives of those who work there if something is not urgently done about this.
Well, I think, let me state here that the Nigerian prisons are simply suffering centers. Despite the change in name, nothing has changed. Because one, the food they give them is something else. And it is the endemic corruption that is plaguing across the prison service. That is why it's making it very difficult that once you get there, what you try to do is to just jump out of it. Let me tell you something very, very interesting. Do you know it is only in Nigeria you can be given a prison term, and there is a cabal within the prison system that makes sure that you don't serve in that very prison. You are allowed to just go take care of yourself outside. When it is night, they just drive you in. It happens.
Do you have facts to prove that?
The sheer fact of proving is that I just attended I was a PhD student in public governance and leadership. It's a place where you have people who work in various places come and share experiences. People that have worked in those, in all those
environments.
Places. And they tell you that what is happening in Nigeria, especially in the prisons, are terrible. There is no way you can reform anybody when you take him there. And that is why when they get there, what they try to do is to see how do they run away from that place. Because it's hell. The prison officials there, whatever is given to them, they try to help themselves with it. And that is why even the budget year in, year out, they want to build this wall, they want to build this security out. It doesn't happen because when it gets there, the big people there get their own cut.
But Dr. raised the issue of paucity of fund as also a problem. Do you think the budgets are all completely released? Like we've heard in other sectors where you hear that, it's not about just budgeting a certain amount. At the end of the day, what is released to them may not even be up to that, and they're struggling to, cope.
You see, things got so bad, even in the military era. Before you get your money released from the Accountant General office, you have to pay a bribe. It happened during the military era. And I don't think if it has changed now. Because you need to facilitate. There is what they call facilitation fee. So the issue of budget.
I don't understand, Simon. You have approval for funds that were budgeted for.
Yes.
And you say you still need to pay a facilitation fee.
Yeah. If you don't pay that money, nothing gets to you.
Make me understand.
Yes. What I'm trying to say is that in the military era, and I don't think if it has changed, but well, if it has not changed, it's done maybe a little bit slightly different. Now, there are a lot of people coming to get money to ensure that they get their money released. There will always be paucity of funds. And the people that there will tell you, hey, we don't have enough funds. And for you to get a head start, for you to get your own share, you drop something.
Let me just add to what he said. There was a former Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General Lucky Irabo, when he was there. I think there was a time when there was this increase of insurgents across the country. In one of the media briefing, he told us that he went to the then president of Nigeria, General Muhammadu Buhari, and told him everything and gave him what it would take him the next few weeks or few months to be able to solve that problem, and presented the budget. And there, then President Muhammadu Buhari approved the request. And we hope that the office of the Secretary General or the Minister of Finance will quickly, release that money. And we were told that less than 10% of that money was released to him. And within that period, the whole thing escalated. And it got a point, President asked someone, I said, look, you came here, you told me what you were going to do, and I approved the money. And the president was shocked when General Rabo told him that the money approved, only less than 10% of it was released. Because they needed to buy equipment immediately to be able to deal with the situations. But the Minister of Finance, who was acting as if he was the de facto president, just refused to release the money. So by the time he realized, the president was angry. He there and there called the Minister of Finance, according to the report. And the Minister told the president, you approved the money, but we couldn't release all. And the president, in presence of the Chief of Defense Staff and the Minister, the man was shocked that himself, as the President of Nigeria, will approve something, and one Minister of Finance will tell the President that there was no money to...
The question you probably want to ask is, why didn't he sack the minister?
Exactly. So the point I'm making is, I'm just adding to what this man has said. And part of the challenges these security agencies are having across the country in responding to security challenges is because of the fact that there's serious bureaucracies.
Doctor,
you approve money, you have to take that fight to almost about 10 desks or 10 units before that money could be released.
This thing you are talking about, Doctor, takes me back to something you mentioned earlier on, that headline on the front page of the Nigerian Pilot, about the fact that over 8,000 inmates in correctional centers are mentally ill.
Yes.
And that's, for me, that's very worrisome.
Yeah. So, and that is not just the correctional center that are facing, the police, the security agencies, they are facing a similar problem. So you find out that here and there, like I said, before you can get the office of Secretary General or the Minister of Finance to release a certain amount of money, you have to also pay some money to them. It's happening. You might not believe it, but go and ask all the civil servants, go and ask all the ministers, the agencies that are responsible for all these things. It happens almost on a daily basis.
After several jail breaks, really, isn't it time really to pay attention to that sector and see how, this funding can be beefed up so that we don't keep having inmates on the streets? Because we're also looking at the public and, what they're being out there, can also do, especially if the corrections that we expect on them haven't been achieved. So, and then we go to link it with a story that Kunle raised earlier about the ones that are mentally ill and what that poses again.
Well, let me state here that it's not only prisoners that are mentally ill. Many Nigerians are mentally ill.
Even the doctors are complaining in one of the papers.
They say there's so much mentally ill or stable doctors there. So you can just wonder what type of treatment do they give people since they too are mentally unstable. So it's just the issue we are facing in this very country. So if you want to do that, what you need to do is to change the system. How do you change the system? Make sure that those that are mandated with responsibility of checkmating, the various chairs of government sit down to do their job. The National Assembly should do what it ought to do. They're supposed to find out, Ministry of Health, how much you have, how much money has been released to you, where has it gone to. They're not doing that because they too are interested in what they get. What is in their mind is how do they win the next election. It's not how the budget works. All they're interested is to get contracts.
Okay.
So when you have people who going for an oversight function, they pay their airfare, they pay everything. How do you do that oversight? Because you can't investigate, you cannot probe. That is the truth of the matter. So,
all right,
Simon, Yeah.
Let's go to another story now. We're losing time fast. We just have about 8 minutes left, and we still have a number of issues to take a look at. So, there's this story on the front pages of People's Daily, the Whistler, Daily Monitor, Blueprint, Observer's Times, and even the Authority newspaper. It's a political story. The politicization of the operations of the EFCC. Ahead of 2027 polls, ADC raises alarm over attempts to intimidate, weaken opposition voices. We are non-partisan in our operations. AFCC rejects ADC's allegations. Doctor.
Well, it is funny that the opposition, who are asking the federal government for accountability and asking President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to fight corruption, are the same people who are preventing the anti-corruption agencies from investigating their colleagues. What is the politicizations of corruption they are talking about? When the same EFCC arrested and is now prosecuting the governor, the former governor of Kogi State. Former governor of Kogi State is one of the closest political allies of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He was arrested and charged to court. He's a member of the APC, members of the ruling party, a very close political ally of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So what are they talking about? If former governor of Sokoto State, Tambuwa, and the former governor of Imo State are linked to alleged dirty deals, what is wrong with the EFCC inviting them to account for their allegations? They are not saying that, look, you are guilty or we are sending you to jail. We have this information about you, about some financial deals that we are not very comfortable with. Please come and respond to those allegations. So how is that politicizations of corruptions? Do they have immunity?
Those are my words, not the words of ADC.
No, exactly. No, it's exactly what they are saying. It's not your word. That's exactly what they said. So the point I'm making is that are they immune from investigation? You know. So the point I'm making is that we have seen several members of the APCs who have been invited by the EFCC, detained, and asked to write statement about allegations against them. We have seen that. So the fact that they invited Tambuwa or they invited Emeka Ihediola, what is wrong with that, for God's sake? I think EFCC should not be dragged into these dirty politics. The EFCC was not set up by political parties, or they are not members of the opposition parties. They are not part of this dirty policy that is going on. I have monitored the activities of the current leadership of the EFCC. Olukoyede, you know, the man is a lawyer. He spent all his life, you know, almost in the public service. He was former secretary of the EFCC. Now, since he came on board, I think he has done everything to ensure that those things that is doing within his mandate are done, you know, within the framework of the through the legal framework that is setting up the EFCC. So the man should not be distracted. Nobody is immune apart from the president, deputy vice president, governor, and deputy governor. Every other person can be invited. As a matter of fact, going by the Supreme Court judgments initiated by then Ganifawa Emi, even if you are a sitting governor, the anti-corruption agencies can investigate the matter. What they cannot do is to prosecute you. They can investigate the matter, keep the record there, and by the time you are out of power, they can prosecute you. There's no time limit. There's no deadline for EFCC or ICPC to investigate somebody. If you are in power for 8 years and you have immunity, by the time you are out of that seat, you can be invited by the EFCC or ICPC to account for your stewardship. So there's nothing wrong with EFCC inviting Tambuwa or Ihediola. Right. For God's sake, they should leave EFCC out of the political
your thoughts on that
manipulations.
Yeah, I quite agree with him on all those issues. But then, if you think you are in the opposition and that gives you an immunity not to be investigated by the EFCC, I think they are getting it wrong. I think the ADC said that they also plan to bring in David Mark. They want to probe his 8 years as Senate President. What's wrong in that? If they ask you if you are sure your hands are clean, simply go there and say it. You see, the truth of the matter is that the EFCC chairman is doing his best as far as I can see, and he should not allow this distraction. People are accusing him of trying to politicize all this, what is happening. No. If you are invited, go and explain yourself, and then come out.
It has the table has turned now. When the PDP was in power, the same APC was accusing PDP of using EFCC to harass them. So the table has changed now.
So it's the politician's way.
It's their way of.
Okay,
that's the way they behave.
Let's look at another story. This one is the new National Stars lead. Ibom Air versus Comfort. Prosecute Oshomole Okwamwan now. Nigerians task federal government.
See, what the NCCA did.
NCAA, you mean?
I mean NCA. This is Nigeria
Civil Aviation Authority.
What they did was wrong. I am not saying that comfort.
Which aspect of what they did?
In the aspect of comfort, the Ibom Air. What Ibom Air did was terrible.
Wait.
No,
Simon,
what aspect? You know, the story has different angles. So what aspect?
They bring in these people. They are bringing Kwam. They are bringing Oshomole just to douse the growing outrage over comfort issue with Ibom Air.
Is it the NCA that is bringing it?
No. I mean, whether it's the people or whatever, but what I'm trying to tell you is, let's not lose sight of what is facing us as a country as far as this issue is concerned. It's all about comfort. The way they treated her was wrong. Very, very wrong.
You mean the life ban by the airline?
Whether the life ban,
the stripping,
her treatment,
that's what I'm asking.
the way they stripped her naked.
Okay.
Of course, nobody is saying that what she did was right. But as a corporate entity,
She ought to be treated with dignity.
She ought to be treated with dignity. When you see somebody just being stripped naked, her breast was shown, no. It's quite unfortunate.
Well, you see,
at least as an entity, as a corporate entity, they were supposed to know that as a corporate entity, their interest was for public perception and not to simply expose that lady to what was shown publicly.
But it wasn't the airline in itself. This was an altercation that happened, which maybe the owners of the airline or even the airport authority at that time didn't even know that it was going on. These is individual, really.
The individual stand for the corporate entity.
Well, let me quickly make this intervention. I think a lot of people have issued a statement about what happened. And it was obvious that no matter the gravity of the offense by, what was her name now? Comfort. The way she was treated, the way she was publicly humiliated.
Even the dragging.
That thing could have been avoided.
Yeah,
but what happened did not take place. But it didn't happen from the point of departure.
Let me ask you to hold on. Because looking at this particular issue, I have also seen a number of videos that came up on the internet of people in other jurisdictions, in the U.S., in other countries, where people were fighting physically
on
aircrafts, where the police physically carried a lady from the aircraft into a police vehicle. These are all things. What I'm saying is, from those videos, it is clear that these incidents are not they're not peculiar to Nigeria. It's a human problem.
You see, the point I was to make, this incident did not happen at the point of departure. It happens at the point of disembarking from the aircraft.
No, from the reports.
No, I agree. I agree.
It's something that percolated from the time the aircraft was about to take off till landing.
Yes, well, I agree. But when they landed, was it in Lagos?
Landed in Lagos, yes.
And the guy wanted to come down. And they said, look, you can't come down because the pilot has already alerted the security, to arrest her. So, and that was the beginning of this whole ugly incident that we are talking about. The point I'm making is that incident could have been avoided. All you needed to do is to allow her to come down. At the point of disembarking, the
security can pick her.
You can even have and cuff her if you think the girl is very rude. Then take her away. And that they could have avoided this kind of a thing. But one thing we must also know, but I'm sure that the Ministry of Aviation and Airspace Management is investigating the matter. They must also look at the unruly behavior of some of these air hostesses. I've been a victim, especially Ibon Air. Their air hostesses, they are very rude. They don't have an element of customer relations with their customers. Let me give an example. This time around, not Ibon Air. Airpeace. There was a time myself, the president of the guild, Emeka Eze Anaba of Vanguard, the MD of the Sun. I'm calling him because so that I can explain this point. The MD of the Sun, Onoha Ike, and the director of news of Silverbird Television were going from Lagos to Kano for a very urgent and important meeting. When we got to the airport, the lady said we can't travel because we presented our company's ID card. That for us to be able to, check in, we must present either driving license or international passport. So we tried to explain to the girls, look, I work for this day. This one work for Vanguard. He said the question the one of the lady asked, he said, what's this day? I said, you mean you don't know this day? He said, I've not heard about that company name before. Do you know? At the point, one of us almost got angry. I said, okay, what kind of stupid statement is coming out from your mouth?
So
do you know at the end of the day?
What you're saying, doctor?
Sorry, let me further. Do you know at the end of the day,
because
it prevented us from traveling. We didn't travel that very day because we could not present international passport or driving license. Our offense was that we presented our company's ID card for a local trip.
Okay, but we're going to need to leave.
So the point I'm making is that some of these people, some of these airlines officials, they are very rude. And the earlier the Minister of Aviation, they should do something about it.
All right.
Because it's not just about the customers now or the passengers now,
Doctor,
but on the part of the officials of the airlines.
We got to go now. Thank you very
much.
Annoying. I can see that you are very annoying.
Because I've been a victim of their unruly behavior.
It's all right. It's a work in progress. Nigeria is work in progress. Thank you very much, gentlemen, and have a great day. So much for the newspaper review. We've had Dr. Yobosa Wugaren and Simon Reef Musa join us to review the headlines on the front pages of the newspapers this morning.
Yes, indeed. Do have a great day, gentlemen. Of course, we told you earlier when we opened the show that we will be looking at the jailbreak, which also